As you can see, everything is working. We have our chart library added to Apex, but the code wasn't that nice. So let's do it a little bit more professional. We go to Shed Components, Plugins, and click on Create. We add the name, the internal name, and type region. Now we took into our sample app and copy our render function into the plugin. And you can see it's a little bit more code, but it makes sense. I tell you why. Let's check this out. In the plugin before, we have hard-coded the type, the size, and so on. And now we will make this customizable for the app developer. Okay, so we define some constants and add here region attributes. We make here a column mapping for the x-axis, a column mapping for epsilon. The chart height will be settable, the chart type, and we can now say, okay, we want to show this JSON data or not. And we can set a label that is shown here before for this data JSON region. The ID is not hard-coded again. We will use the region ID that gives us Apex, or that is defined by the app developer. And then we have to add some more variables. These variables are needed for Apex Execute. What Apex Execute is, I tell you a little bit later. Now, we do not load our library from static files because the library should be included into this plugin and not into the app. So we add this code here to load the JavaScript library directly here from the plugin. Then we create our chart region and add here the ID that we have defined in this PSQL block, and we add a class. So the good thing is when we add CSS classes, the app developer can style this region or elements in this region. And then we use Apex Execute. Apex Execute is the newest function for plugins to load data. Because this function supports different data sources. You can use SQL, you can directly select a table with a where condition, and you can use web source modules. That is a cool thing, because Apex automatically checks what is selected in the app on the page, and then it executes the code. Because we use column mapping, we need to get the column number, because this is just an array, and we need to get the column number for our x-axis column, and the same for the epsilon column. Now we will create JSON. We loop through our array, get the value for x, get the value for epsilon, and then we create JSON. Here is a debug message added so that the JSON is printed into debug when debug is enabled, so that we can see, that JSON is created. Then we add a no data found message. So when the SQL statement returns no data, we will see it in the region. And after that, we add a JavaScript inline code. Here you see the same code as before. We create this option JSON with our dynamic type, height, and add here the JSON, and then we call the chart library. After that, here comes the block to show the data, and you can see we use escape output attribute. That I will show you some later when we have created the plugin. Here, when this is set, the label, this label, is escaped. When not, directly print the label as HTML. So let's click on Create. I told you that we use attributes in this plugin. So there are some different attributes. At first, we will enter our render function. Oh, no. So, and then we will add here some standard attributes. At first, because we use Apex Execute, we select here region source supports different data sources. Then we add number of fetched rows, because this attribute we use here in our Open Query context. We add the no data found message because we have added in our code here p region no data found message. We check has escape special characters because we use it here. P region escape output. And then we will add some custom attributes. I told you that we will add these attributes to make it possible for the application developer to customize the plugin directly when he develops the page. So the first is the X column. This is attribute 1. And the type is here region SQL statement column. We say it's required, and we say data type is varchar. You can also add here help text, and I would please you to add every time help text. But in this example, we will skip that, okay? So the next attribute is the epsilon call attribute. So we add this also to our plugin. Say it's required, and we say the type is number. The third attribute is the chart height. We will add this attribute also to our plugin. And say, okay, we can make it as text. It's required. And then we can say, okay, 400 pixel. Or the better way, we make a select list. So let's make a select list. We say 200 pixel, 200 pixel. Click create and create another. And we say 400 pixel, 400 pixel. You can add some more. For the example, it's enough. We click apply changes. The fourth attribute is the chart type. So chart type. And then we create again a select list as required with the value. Oh, what is the problem? I have to set a default value, sorry. We choose bar, then we add the value. So we apply changes, and then we have our next attribute, and then we will attribute to show the chart data or not. So we click on Add Attribute, and now the type will be yes or no. So the default value is yes, and we create the last one. Now I have clicked on create and create another, so we can directly create another attribute. So we can set text required and translatable, because when we translate the application, this attribute is also translated. And we set a default value. We can click on create, and now we have finished our next plugin, but something is missing. We don't want to load the chart library from the Apex app. We want to load the chart library directly here from the plugin. So let's add this chart library here to the plugin. We upload it, and then we can reference this chart library here with plugin files, and then we choose the name of our library, or we add it here in PL/SQL code like I have done it. Okay, now let's apply changes. So we have saved our chart plugin, and now we can add it to the page. So this was the first, and we change it to the second chart plugin. And then you can see here, like you know it from Interactive Grid or Interactive Wrapper, that we have here our different data sources. I will choose SQL query and add a SQL query. We copy it here from my sample application. And now you can see here that we have some attributes. These are the attributes that we have added before, so we can make here the column mapping. The cool thing is that this is type safety. We also have added these other attributes like chart height, chart type, and we can easily configure our plugin directly when developing the page. And that's pretty cool because it makes it very easy to use these plugins. So we press save and start the app again. And now you can see everything works. So you see, to build a little bit more professional plugin is not so hard. So maybe we can add another step.